Welcome to our show, Raw. Here we have Sugar Otis' son here today. Uh, Lucky. Thank you for coming in our show today.
Lucky
Uh,
Otis in the house.
yeah. Uh, I see you playing the guitar.
It's your guitar. I like this guitar. Got the deep sound.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Baritone.
What I want to ask you is, what's your next show?
August 5th at Tex French Restaurant, the 321 Lounge. Myself, Joe Biza, who's like a punk jazz guitar legend in Los Angeles. Played with a lot of groups from the 80s on, went around the world. And Vince Maroney, amazing multi-instrumentalist. And so together we do some, it's like a punk jazz type of evening. It's free to the public. It's 1911 West Sunset Boulevard on the Glendale overpass right there. So it's at 10 o'clock on August 5th, Friday.
How many people gonna be there?
Well, last time the room was packed, so about anywhere to almost 100 people, 50 comfortably, and then it starts to squeeze. They have tables in the front. There's a small, if you want to call it, dance floor in front of a couple booths
Mhm.
that surround the room, and then you got the bar and the people who work there running in and out. They're really cool, and they hook you up. So that's why we like playing there.
What I was gonna ask you too is, what got you into music? What got you interested in music?
Well, every house I lived in, whether it was, since with my mother, she loved music so much that she would hang out with musicians during like the time of them coming up, almost discovering them in a way and bringing them into a different world of, thinking, a paradigm of expansion on the mind.
Did your mother write music?
Yeah, Miss Mercy was in the GTOs, an all-girl group, 1969, with Frank Zappa. The story I heard is there's a bunch of these, little pretty girls with short skirts and high stockings, and some barefoot running around, makeup and all sorts of. They were just like girls you see today at the mall. You're all, oh, she's a new girl. No, these were new girls back then, and the other school girls, like the ones you see in Beatles or Rolling Stones videos, screaming. This was the transformation, especially with the world of psychedelics, from San Francisco, Haight-Ashbury, 1964, I would say even earlier, from like the beat poets to the flower children to the hippies, like that whole transformation was, you know, the place where it came from.
What started your father into music?
Um,
Is it because of your grandfather, or he just?
I would say so. Coming from a house where you are, 5 years old and your grandfather is at the top of the world in Los Angeles, the king of rock and roll, among the black community especially.
Who's your grandfather?
Johnny Otis,
Oh wow.
the godfather of rhythm and blues,
Mm.
and the king of rock and roll. I was saying they don't want him to be the king because he basically intermarried, with a black woman, my grandmother, Phyllis. So that was something that they looked at as taboo, and they would treat people differently. And as you know, he was the artist of the year on Billboard in 1950.
Mm.
You know, he was like a contemporary of Roy Milton and R&B legends. When R&B was R&B, rhythm and blues. It wasn't like R. Kelly or something that people think R&B like now.
Mm.
But that's good and all, but this was the original,
Mm.
where they broke swing down, and then it was like pre-rock and roll because electric guitars and honking saxophones and things like that.
Have your father ever did anything with your grandfather?
Oh yeah,
What have they done that we probably know about?
Well, many albums.
What album? Give me one that would.
Live at Monterey, Johnny Otis show was probably the most prominent one.
And that was with your father too?
Yeah, 1970. It was also in the movie. Clint Eastwood played Misty for Me. Like, there's a part where
Really?
like the woman is stalking him in the movie. He's a radio DJ, and she
Right.
keeps. He's like, "Hello, you're on the air, caller," and she's like, "I'm outside in the parking lot looking in the window." Like, she's real creepy.
Right.
But there's a part where she goes to Monterey Festival,
Uh-huh.
and the jazz festival, really, because
Uh-huh.
Clint Eastwood loved jazz. You know, if you don't know, he did the documentary for Thelonious Monk, Straight No
Oh,
Chaser.
okay.
He's loves jazz. So that whole world was like back then, and that was the concert that they did a double live album on. Long story short, it was a traveling showcase for what was the original Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame. You know, to especially note that, you know, blacks on their achievements, which just wasn't heard of, you know, at that time. Now it's like, oh, we got this, that, but back then, not at all.
Have anybody, some of your young artists right today, have anyone sampled any of you guys' work?
Yeah, they sample Shuggie Otis all the time.
Who sampled? What's the name of the song that they use?
Well, DJ Quick did some stuff in the '90s. Lots of people, but most notably Outkast, Miss Jackson. When it goes, didn't mean to make the daughter cry, blah 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 blah.
Good
That
song.
melody is like an ice cream truck
Yes,
rolling
yes.
down the, you know, West LA. But that was basically Shuggie.
Really?
Strawberry Letter 23, which he wrote. A lot
Right.
of people have heard the Brothers Johnson, you know, because Quincy Jones loved my father so much that he wanted him under his wing. This is, you know, like, I guess he was trying to get Michael Jackson the whole time. I don't know, but maybe he waited till he was older because he worked with him on Off the Wall. And
Were your
Thriller.
father a Buddhist?
Good question. I think now he went to a meeting, but recently,
What about your grandfather?
Buddhist. He's more. It's almost like a cross between the mind of an atheist and a Southern Baptist preacher.
Oh,
Like, just the craziest dichotomy in one body and mind you've ever seen. Yeah. But it worked for him.
what are your father doing right now?
Probably contemplating what he's going to do next, which is, you know, probably looking at the guitar going, maybe it's in his hand, maybe it's across the room, I don't know. The last time I talked to him, he's kind of a cross between Prince and Clarence Williams III in Purple Rain. Like, he's a cross between the two.
Have you guys
Carrot.
considered doing something together?
Of course, I always want to do stuff with him.
Do you think that we can get him in here and you guys can do something?
Well, every interview says, yeah, sure, and then, you know, you adjust the mic and he comes walking in and you do something together. But I think a guy on the street can get him to do something easier
Really?
than I can get. Yeah, because I think there's a whole thing.
You don't
of,
like the pressure or something, I guess, right? Like it's a job.
Well, I really do think that, and I've been thinking about this with my own mother too, that I haven't necessarily gotten along with both of them my whole life, but I do know that my aim has been mostly to get along with my father and to be closer to him, but he's a very private, reclusive person.
What do you think it would take to impress your father that you could do?
Oh, well, when he saw me in the studio with Luther Vandross's producer at Motown West in Burbank, doing my own thing, I played all the instruments, drums, bass guitar, real Hammond B3 organ they wheeled in, vocals. Then I got on the acoustic and did a bunch of stuff. And then he disappeared with the masters, this guy.
What, your father?
No, this producer
really?
that paid for all the studio time. But it's just funny to me, like, how someone doesn't want something to get out in the world like that, that we were so proud of. I mean, the guy was in the studio, like,
Did you get a copy of it?
oh yeah, I got a copy of it. And of course, I added my own stuff to it, but it's my music, so you know.
Can you give me an idea how it sounds? Was it just music or was it singing?
Well, no, it's like. It's just real simple blues.
grandfather. Blues. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. You sort of play like Jimi Hendrix a little bit. I noticed.
Really?
Who
Cool.
who you get that from?
Jimi Hendrix? I think we all did, right? Even
Yeah.
you. Uh,
That's true.
guy behind the camera plays like Jimi Hendrix, if you didn't know. So listen, Ricky Hendrix is amazing. Find him on Facebook, find me on Facebook. And
Are you guys on Facebook together?
yeah, you can't add me, just private message me and poke me or something. I don't take offense. I just trip on people who write me 500 times on some BS. You know, I want to really get into the progressive thinking right away. So people have to.
What would it take to get your father?
Well, we asked that.
Could we go to him?
Yeah. Basically, an absurd amount of money, probably. Oh, really? You know, what do I got to do? Play in front of these kids for about 15 minutes?
Yeah.
6 digits? Yeah, no problem, I guess.
Well, maybe we can interview him.
No, I'm just kidding. The whole point is, when we get together,
Mm-hmm.
it's powerful. We had 2 standing ovations at Montreux Jazz Festival. When Prince was across the way, and I think he mentioned, yeah, Shuggy Otis is next door. Woo!
Hey, if I could find you a song
What song?
that's a hit, do you think your father and you and your father, we find something where you guys could do together?
Well, it's a great idea, but the thing about him is, every time I come close to the force field or the magnet, it repels me, and everyone knows it. Oh, well, you just have to excuse him. He's not well, or he's sick, or I've heard that my whole life.
Those are just excuses.
Well, the whole point about it is doctors actually diagnose things, but the way I look at it is I don't even need to go to the doctor to find out that I'm already crazy. So I just deal with whatever I deal with because of the trauma of parents and grandparents. But most of my grandparents' stuff was more internal, and it affected me, but it wasn't as... But I did think of my grandpa as like Stromboli, the puppet master in Pinocchio. I did think of him like that, very intimidating and very demanding.
What are the things about your father that really bothered you or irritated you?
Well, okay, you're hanging.
That probably impacts you. Let's say you guys don't have a close relationship.
Let's say one of you gets lit,
Mm-hmm.
you know, on whatever, multiple things,
Mm-hmm.
but mostly inebriated to the point where you try to get in someone's mind and kind of tinker around with it and manipulate, you know, your child because of many reasons. And I thought about it. What if I had a child and I was, you know, felt that way, so to speak? What I would say is, look at me. I'm still doing it. I'm still young. He was very young when he had me. I think 19, 20. So since that's the case, I'm someone who came up in my grandfather's band. I think the closest people in my life were my grandparents at times.
So you were practically raised by your grandparents?
Yeah, well, he got remarried, and I was over there sometimes, but it wasn't...
How old were you then?
They split up when I was 3, my parents, yeah.
Okay.
But they lived under my grandparents' roof. So it was kind of like my father he lived that life. He was a child rock star.
Right.
And, you know, everyone was after him, the Rolling Stones, David Bowie, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Spirit, the Rascals, who else? I mean, you know, they all wanted him to be in the group. And they even did something with Buddy Miles came over, and like when I was a little kid. Kenny Burke from the Stair Steps, Billy Preston, and Shuggy. And my grandpa got it together. It's going to be the Black Beatles. It's going to be the greatest thing ever. So they got upstairs.
It could have been.
Oh, it was for 2 seconds until someone, you know, pulled out, you know, a stash and they started dipping it, you know, like candy. And the next thing you know, my grandpa said, I'm going to give you an hour or two. And he came back upstairs and they're sitting around going, 1, 2, clicking drumsticks. No, it goes like this. No, it goes like this. And I've been through that too. What it's called is too many leaders in the army.
You can't get nothing done.
Pointing this way, that way. The army's going to split up and go, man, I'm going to follow this cat, or we're just going to sit here.
It never works.
Right, so.
Your grandfather,